When you don't have a jointer, it can be a real challenge to get perfectly square angles for butt joining. I want to join this surface to this surface and this surface to that surface, and I was pretty pleased with that. And I decided to try another maneuver that you probably shouldn't do. What I've done is, or whatever you call it, strap clamped them together. I'm hoping that in one pass this whole surface will end up perfectly flat to itself, thereby achieving our squareness. Wish me luck. Keep my fingers crossed. Alright. Looks good to me. It looks like we've achieved our goal. Those butt joints are square enough that they should join up just fine. Well, I've discovered there's a flaw in my design. Two pieces of wood make up one leg. And the idea was to join them, to finger join them together, and then cut in a dovetail. And as I'm looking at it, I'm realizing that it's only this dovetail meat of finger joins that are going to be holding big, heavy pieces of wood like that together. That's unacceptable. So I went and found another piece of this hemlock. And, my idea is to slot it into them. And it would start at the top of the dovetail there, and then join the two legs a through joint, you know. So I'll be cutting it at those lines that I've drawn there, and then sinking those pieces one after the other this way into our wood. Okay, it's an experiment, if you will. Never done it before, but I know that that joint needs to be stronger than the way it was designed. Golly. I don't know if I mentioned this or not, but the man who's commissioned me to make this table is paying me with a big industrial bandsaw, which is going to be great. But it's not here yet, and I need it to finish the job. So let's just see if we can pull this off with a reciprocal. And look at that. Get the belt sander in there. We'll be doing fine. So that cut started dead on the money. It ended about a millimeter off. So I'm not going to worry about that difference in degrees, because it's this plane that's going to depict the angle at which the legs go down. So if it's slightly off, I can live with that. So lap join them first, right? Get rid of this, join them together, make sure they fit, they're at the right angle. And once that's done, then I can mark and fit in my cross pieces on the end. And I'll be removing 30 cm here all the way across so that those braces I just cut can fit in nicely. But that will still leave about, you know, that much material from my finger on over of these two joints that are pre-lapped. And now we're talking strength. Alright, now that I got it figured out, and I'm going to pull this off in probably 4 maneuvers. So that was maneuver 2. Now this one, we're not going to do a fence, we're just going to eyeball it. Make sure my blade is on the side of the line that I want to get rid of. Right? Maneuver 3 and maneuver 4. Maneuver 2 wasn't complete. And there we have it. We finally figured it out, and I'm just going to do a surround view here. Those two tenon sort of shaped things that are poking out on either side, those are actually lap joined together. Finally got the geometry. The two lap joins are here and here, all right? And then in these areas we're going to have cross members. But look at how many years in the how many rings are in that grain. That's really, really old wood. But that'll end up being here, and 2 in the middle, and then 1 in the bottom. What I've done is found the areas where I know I'm going to be removing wood, and I've bolted in some stabilizers so that I can work the top of it with comfort and stability. Otherwise I would never come near to getting it as nice as I want to. The tops of all these are uneven, and step 1 is to get them even. The router is mounted with 1 Phillips head screw so that it can slightly pivot. I can probably get 3 passes per setup. So I get 3 passes, undo the screw, move it over, and do it again. Okay, it just fits right over the 2 sides of the plywood. And got a nice big slot so I can see what's going on. I think the rest of that can be sanded. Now it's time to set up for the fabrication of the dovetail. See if that's something we can work with. Yep. I'm marking a line here for reference in the event that the dovetail on this side isn't parallel to the dovetail on that side. 14.4 centimeters. 14.4 centimeters. That feels good. In my judgment, that's not bad. This side isn't quite as clean, but the whole point is strength, right? Let's look at it from the side. The goal for today is to get this area here to be able to flip over and slide into a slot, a dovetail slot that I need to make right here. The way I set up for routing dovetail slides is to take a square and draw a line straight from the narrowest point of my dovetail, and that's my dimension. Okay, then I transfer that dimension onto my place where I need to remove the material and draw those lines, and then I take the router and freehand it exactly to the line and stop the motor. Then I make sure that the cutting edge is against the wood, and I put a small mark on the outside of the router there. Then I remove the router and measure the distance from the cut to that line and replicate it over here. And once I know that this board is perfectly parallel to the line that I want, I clamp it in place, and then we start working with the router. I hope you can see we've got a really tight fit there. Now that's only like maybe pushed on about 1 centimeter into the joint, and I don't see any daylight shining through there. And this thing needs to be assembled, disassembled, assembled, marked, disassembled several times. So I'm going to go ahead and take a millimeter off one side just for ease of assembly and building. And when I put it all together, I'll probably put maybe about a 1/2 mil shim, just a ribbon of wood in there with the glue when I snug it all in for the final glue up. And we can see that things slide in with relative ease. That's pretty solid. Okay, I'm pleased to say that the legs have slid into their home destination quite nicely. I decided to round the corners where they could possibly catch first, and sure enough, that's what allowed it to slide in. So I'm going to have to take these crossed beams out and then get half of this thing in there, then put the cross beams back in so I can mark where they intersect and plan on how to cut those joints there.